Just glancing through the weekend's papers, this is Saturday, March the 9th edition of the Daily Graphic. Tamale Police sacks 120 students for examination malpractices. Oops. But this is really sad news because people do study, for examinations. And they study, well, not just 1 year or 2 years. People spend years studying in school. And then sometimes the pressure of an exam just gets too much. And what do we try to do to compensate for the extra load? Well, we try to cheat a little. But my guests tell me that this is totally unnecessary. If you are well prepared psychologically and emotionally, and in terms of your academic work, you probably not need to resort to cheating, and you will not have your results cancelled, as in the case of these students. And they say that they are going to walk their talk. But in order to help them walk a little bit farther, I want to introduce them to you as Frank Adai and Cephas Afonu of the University of Education in Winneba. Now, what they're doing is they're coming to us from the Department of Psychology and Education. Psychology and Education. And they say that they are organizing a one-day seminar on preparing for examination for students. And it's going to take place tomorrow. And well, Winneba is a relatively small town. It's where I come from. Winnebarians, that's what we are, yeah, right? And the Zion Girls Senior High School is right there. We've got many more people on Sunrise. Now, I would like to think that almost everyone who is concerned with this would probably be in school studying. But if you're a parent or a sibling, a senior brother, perhaps a caretaker, you would love to know some of the things that I'm going to be asking from my guests, because you can share them with your siblings, with your children, with your wards, and they can do better come exam day. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
This is a really nice thing that you're doing.
Thank you.
It's a really, really nice thing.
Thank you.
Whose idea was it?
The idea came out, it's actually part of an up-segment program that is organized by the Department Psychology and Education Department. So once you get to the final stage, before you go out completely, finally, you are some series of programs are designed for you as a student, and one of such programs is what you call practicum. And as part of it, you organize outreach programs for communities, and we select topics that have vital concern or interest in the lives of individuals or some communities, and we try to treat and raise an awareness on some of these topics or selection that have been selected for these communities. And we chose the theme, preparing towards examination, the role of the student.
Who chose that theme?
The group.
You know what theme I would have chosen?
No.
Examination favors the fool. Everyone knows that one. What's the psychological explanation for that popular phrase, that examination favors the fool? Does it have a scientific basis at all?
Well, it is difficult to tell whether it has scientific basis or not. But it appears that it all boils down to preparation. If you are well prepared, whether it has nothing to do with whether you were going to fail or not, or whether you were a fool or not, in quote.
I mean, so in other words, someone who thinks that they're too wise would not prepare as hard. Who's someone who thinks that, well,
yes,
I think I'm not too smart. I don't think I'm a fool, but I'm not that smart. I'm not that wise. I have to work harder. Is that
you
what
have to work harder and need to prepare well, and by that you need to get the necessary skills, develop the proper attitude and the behavior, and prepare well towards examination. Otherwise, you fail. Some also, on the other side, may not prepare well, or may not even have what it takes to prepare well. But for what we know, they come out successful. Probably that is why that popular phrase came up.
Okay, Frank, last minute kappa. Last minute kappa. Very, very popular.
Last minute kappa. It's there, it's real, it's happening, it's in our schools, and we want sometimes go through. But it's also not advisable, because anything at all is possible. You can have adverse effect on you. You may experience blackout as a result of that, and it's not advisable.
Cephas, I mean, psychologically, do you distinguish between a test and an examination and an assessment?
Yeah, a test is an exam, if I could say, and assessment comes after a test and an examination.
So why is it that people feel the most pressure during examinations? We don't feel so much pressure during class tests, for example. The questions are sometimes the same.
Class tests, people feel pressure, but it's not experience. It's only that the exam crowns a term's work or an end of a program. That's why we normally see it giving pressure. But normally class tests, people are worried, they couldn't sleep. People even goes their mind before they go and take a test. Those who are really interested to make well, they will get themselves so much worry, because tests actually form part of your final assessment. And if you don't get good marks, even up to white level, where a test from a school is part of your final examination, you need to work hard.
Most students, though, try to perform well in tests for two reasons.
Yeah.
It's one for the money, two for the show. Or rather, one for the mummy and two for the show. Otherwise, the first person who gets either, to give praise or to give punishment are the parents. And the second person, of course, are the peers, which is the show. What is the role of parents in helping their children, their wards, prepare psychologically for examinations?
Yeah. Parents are one of the vital stakeholders of their children as far as examination is concerned. And we want parents to understand that the progress of any student is determined by the outcome of the examination. And there is the need for that psychological and emotional support from parents. Even sending a thank you success card to your child whilst writing examination is a support from you. Financially, most students or some students may have financial problems getting to their exam, and that can affect them. They may not, if you don't get good food to eat, you don't eat well, you cannot learn well, and you cannot prepare well for exam. And the parents in general must show that we are there for you, because at the end of the day, that examination, after it's being assessed on a student, is going to be used to measure the progress, the placement, the prediction of what the child will become, or the place that the child will find himself or herself after the exam.
Very nice. So just the simple provision of basic necessities,
sure,
and maybe the little extra of success card go a long way. What
even
about
textbooks?
Textbooks. What about on a daily basis, Frank? I mean, a little bit farther ahead in terms of preparation, because last minute cards and well wishes and a little bit extra money. Okay, that's good. But what about ahead of the examination, a month or two? What can parents do to improve the psychological preparedness of their wards for examinations?
With regard to parental support and examination preparation, all boils down to the home conditions. First and foremost, there should be peace at home, and the children should also be part of that peace. The tension should be lessened for them. In other words, as my brother put it, the support financially, emotionally, everything should be there. They should be encouraged.
It should be. That's quite a tall list, because most parents, myself being one, we almost feel as much pressure, or perhaps even more, and in different ways, than our children who are taking the examination.
Yes, it's there. But you see, at the end of the day, it's not you, the parent, going to take the exam. It is the child. And therefore, you don't have to be, there shouldn't be a transfer of pressure or tension or whatever on the child. The child should rather be encouraged, should be given the necessary support, and the conditions should be created for him or her to be able to study, to be able to prepare well for the examination. So the home condition, the home factor is very, very important. Then the tools and the equipment, whatever, that would facilitate or necessitate his or her preparation towards a successful examination is also important. You can't, of course, expect your child to perform well whilst you are not even probably supporting him for extra classes or buying books or tools like that.
Okay, I've got two fantastic questions from two of our fantastic viewers, and they are straight to the point. These guys are on the money. The first one says, Kweku, he's called Kweku DA. Please, what is the government doing about the increase of fees of SHS students? So you can see the pressure building up right there psychologically. And do they think supervisors will feel comfortable in supervising two batches of students combined in the WASSCE? Lots of people taking the exam at the same time. The Silver Static Major Kwashi Floyd is asking another question. He says, Mr. Eric, please ask your guest, how many hours can I study? From Chainsaw, ex-student of Asisewa Senior High. So one is on the money and the numbers. Says, well, there are going to be more people and the psychological pressure is higher on parents because they have to pay more money, so they pass that pressure on to students, whether we like it or not in many cases. And at the same time, it's going to look like there are a lot more people vying for the same number of positions in a university. That's the first question. The second one, and you can share them amongst yourselves, is about studying. In terms of psychology, what sort of time schedules would you recommend to students when it comes to studying for exams?
Yeah, let me highlight on the first part.
Okay.
As a parent, once you have given birth, you've got a responsibility. And so as your child starts coming up, you have to make all conscious efforts to help that child be supported financially. And that will be able to help them to come out of their school year program. But if there's going to be a problem, I think it needs to be sorted out by the parent earlier. And so there couldn't be any excuse of paying fees and the rest. But I think if there is unnecessary charge of fees and the rest, the PTAs and the board of directors in various schools could look into it. And government is always even crying out against charging of higher fees in schools. So I think every school is expected to give a normal or average price that a student can afford. And if I want to touch on the number of students about the invigilators and the rest, I think on the 20th of February 2013, the Professor Opoku Agyeman, the Minister of Education, had a publication about 400,000 students coming to take examination because of the third year and the 4-year group. And I realized a lot of schools share their experience all over Ghana on that issue. But I think most of them were expressing on the third year. Some schools said we've done remedial with them. Some said it's unfortunate some of these policies come into play third year, fourth year. And most of the fear is the third year not able to finish the syllabus on time and all these things. I share that view with them because normally reopening day for first years doesn't tally with the regular system. And then they have a shorter period to finish their exam. That's why we are saying that preparing towards examination, the students has a role to play. Whether you like it or not, they are now giving you an examination that will be the same as the fourth year group, and you need to cover up by all possible means. I think in our school days, we also have that problem in the secondary school, where we try to look at the syllabus and try to share some topic among ourselves and try to prepare ourselves towards the battle ahead.
Serious pressure. A viewer was asking a question, Eric, did you ever cheat in exams? I'm going to come back to you with the psychology of cheating whilst I consider how I should answer this question by Kofi S.L. Kaliwood. But coming back to Kwashi Floyd's question about the studying, the duration of study and how it affects psychology.
You see, there is no fast rule as to a specific time for studies. No.
We used to have something called brain fog. They say if you study too much, you can even lose your sanity.
Well, it's possible. But you see, the point is that you got to know yourself first. It is said that the popular phrase goes, man, know thyself, who you are, your capacity level, your limits and all that. Therefore, maybe if I'm able to, I can study, I can grasp the concept, I can imbibe them for maybe the next 1 hour or 2 hours. But it is ideally it is advisable that you don't sit down to study for a period of about 2 hours. Maybe within every hour you can have breaks about 5 to 10 minutes to refresh up or to move about, to record the points and gather the energy and the strength and come back to study again. So I would say that the person should know him or herself, get to know who he is, his strength level, and apply it appropriately. Yeah.
The psychology of cheating, I'll just come to that. Just a second. There's some really interesting questions. Lovia Chelsea, now she's worried about money. Says, do we have to pay for the third term fees whilst we are only going for 2 terms? So there again, it's the pressure of the financial aspect of the cost of acquiring an education or sitting an examination. Felix I thinks that wouldn't it be better to have a student just go and take the examination in prison than have a policeman stand right behind them doing examination? Now, what can that student write? You know, the pressure of the examination hall, the psychology of cheating, the financial question, you know, just keeps coming up again and again, and also how to deal with pressure in the examination room.
Don, you see, the point is, in life there are always unexpected events, and there are always pressures and tensions also that we've got to deal with. You can't outdo them or can't live without them, but you would have to know how to manage it. You see, that is where we counselors come in, where the pressure, the tension mounts to the point that it becomes unbearable. You've got to seek help. You've got to seek proper professional advice as to what to do when you are in situations like that. Okay, but as to the exam pressure and all that, well, that's why we chose the theme. It falls under the domain of educational guidance, where we try to help assist students to succeed in their academic endeavors and achieve their educational goals and objectives. So again, it has to do with seeking the proper help and getting to know how to manage stress, how to manage yourself in times of these difficulties. Because whether you like it or not, it's such that you can't do away with these problems, do away with these happenings, events that are taking place. The government says this, 2 batches are going to write. There's nothing that you can do about it. It's rather what you can do is how to manage it and how to control it to help you.
How would you advise students to separate themselves from the pressure that their parents or that their guardians face and feel when it comes to the financial aspect of education? Because most of the time, students seem to take ownership of that. They think that, you know, we have to pay fees, I have to pay fees. And the school authorities also do that. When a student's parent defaults in some payment, they pass that on to the student, and they actually use the student sometimes in a situation that I call a hostage situation, where the student is caught between the school and their home in financial matters. What advice would you give to students that could help them ease the psychological pressure on them in this regard?
Yeah, if I would like to start from a point, we equally have students where their parents are all in for them. They are not ready to learn. They pay the fees, do everything that they need, and they keep on disappointing the parents. The same way, you know, we have opposite or extreme opposite of every situation. As psychologists or guidance and counseling people, we have to let all students know that as a student, one thing at a time. You need to let go certain things. What faces you in life at a particular time, you need to work on. You need to learn how to forget about certain situations and work on what is at stake in your life. Now, you have financial problem, fine, but you have an exam ahead of you. That exam will determine your future and everything. If you don't take time and you keep on thinking about financial aspect, it will be solved. I know of cases where even schools consider students who are owing fees, they complete. Some complete before they come for their certificates, they come and pay. These possible situations are there. And I think your situation in school, the way you comport yourself, the way you behave, if you have such crises, the school will understand. Especially the parents can go in and have some negotiation with the school and these things be solved. But my stressing point is that students need to let go things that are not needed to prepare them for exam. You need to forget about them and look up to what is ahead of you and pursue it so that you'll be able to come out of it. You know, even if you become a parent or every individual, you have pressure, you have to find a way of going. And if it is too much, that's why we have guidance and counseling coordinators in school. You get to them and let them help you out and give you focus and be able to stand all these situations.
Then I come into that question of whether I ever cheat in an exam. Eric, did you ever cheat in an exam? I cheat in examinations on a daily basis. Well, just imagine this. No, I know it sounds like a joke, but anytime you get up on a public platform and people are watching you. You are under examination. And if you see what I do, well, this is what I do. I try to prepare ahead of time. So I distribute the pressure backwards. I try to soak up the pressure before the day. On the day, well, I try to get all my facts together. I try to get my mind, sort of like quiet just before we go on air. And then I do cheat. You know what I cheat with? Water, hydration. Water is really good, and that's why you often see that when people are being questioned in parliament or in court, there's always a bottle of water. Hydration, nutrition, before and during the examination are really important. Am I wrong or am I right?
Am I right?
You're right. Are we allowed to take water into examination halls? Because water can really cool you off. If you feel under pressure, you take a sip of water and suddenly, you just feel calmer, cooler.
Well, I think, well, the law says that no foreign material should be introduced into the examination hall. Well, what that you are required to send into the exam hall, maybe your pen and the necessary tools. But maybe in extreme cases, or in by medical advice, it could be allowed, based on what is happening, having sought permission from the authorities, having examined what is at stake, and it is medically advised that you would need it.
Psychological, is it advisable to take a sip of cool water when you feel like you are hot, under pressure, to cool you down, not just physically but also psychologically?
Well, under normal circumstances, yes. But since we are also being guided by rules and we also pretend the rules and pressures, you have to conform. And if the law states otherwise, of course you can't be there. Yeah.
Well, we have about 5 minutes left. What advice would you give to the unfortunate students who were sacked by Tamale Poly for examination malpractices? Is there any sort of psychological or counseling advice that you could share with them and with their parents?
Yeah, first of all, exam malpractice. You were asking from the beginning why we chose this topic. On the 13th of February this month, Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools called on partners and stakeholders to jointly help to carry out exam malpractice in Ghana. And they were worried about how WAEC view supervisors, invigilators, heads of school and teachers from allowing students to undertake that. It's simply not in place to have exam malpractice. Cheating in exam room, if you are not well prepared, you will not be able to avoid this sort of thing. That is why we chose this theme. We see ourselves as guidance and counseling students as partners of that appeal to the Ghanaian populace to assist in helping students do the right thing. If you really prepare, you will never cheat. And you must know yourself, as my brother said. Either you are a morning bird or a night owl. You know your best study time, know how or the pace you can go with your studies, go gradually with your syllabus, learning what is required and taking the various steps that you need in preparing for exam. Go consciously after what you are doing, not piling, waiting for last minute, and waiting to go and get some charms and amulets to protect yourself in exam. I wonder if amulet would tend to be the pen to write for you, or going for some occultic powers, or going to take prayers, prayer camps, or go for narcotics
all night the day before the exam.
Yeah, these things will not help you. What they will ask you on paper is based on what you are able to cover in the syllabus. So you need to really prepare yourself. So once they have been sacked, I don't know the duration that they may be banned. They should get to counselors because it's a really disturbing situation. Yeah. They are confused by now and they need counseling. So they need to be counseled to become of themselves, and then from there we take it up to see the way forward.
So have we touched on almost all the material that you're going to be sharing with the participants of your seminar tomorrow? Is there anything that we've missed out on that you think the wider national audience could also benefit from?
Yeah, basically the topic is divided into two parts. The first part deals with developing effective skills, how to study for studies, which will transform later on, eventually becoming a habit. And once they remain your habit, they automatically happen. it will just occur to you that I have to study, I have to do that, I have to do that, then prepare work toward that. Then the second part also has got to do with preparations before, during, and after examinations. So these are the two main blocks of the topic, and that is what we'll be dealing with in a form of a panel discussion tomorrow, going to be chaired by one of the seasoned and renowned professors called Professor Augustine Kwashiga. Yeah, so we are dealing with how to develop private study skills, some behaviors or attitudes that you need to develop as a student whilst preparing towards examination, or to become your habits, some techniques or skills you need to employ when you are in the classroom, some bad study habits that you need to break or you need to stop, and some the ways to break them will also be highlighted upon. Then how to concentrate and retain material, how to start a study session, and how to improve concentration. All these things will be tackled on. So basically, that is what we're going to do tomorrow. And our target audience is second cycle institutions, precisely as Zion Girls University.
Emma Marceline has recognized you. She says, "Good morning, sir. Cephas, long time." You know anyone called Emma Marceline?
Emma Marceline.
Okay, says, "Good morning, sir. Cephas, long time." Yeah. And James Kofi Basie, now he says that the pressure during examinations is a result of the action of teachers, masters, and invigilators in an examination center. And before, says, "I witnessed one incident where teachers sought for a marking just because he thinks the marks of a class is impossible. And that for me will bring the spirit of the students down, where teachers underrate their students and think that they could not have done as well as they did in class." Another thing he's talking about is examination malpractices. Who at all is behind the leaking of papers before the day of the examination? Once again, teachers. What psychological clues or tricks or help can you offer to people to help them deal with some of these situations, like the pressure? Should I try to get access to the question that they say have leaked or not? And
yeah, you see, I experience cases where getting to exam, students are looking for what commonly is known as
APO.
Yeah, why
apocrypha?
Yes, why does not make its questions
almighty
to be leaked out before the final paper? This must be known by all students. WAEC expects the paper to come before every individual unexpectedly, and then how much you prepare for it, you account for. So we want to ask students to desist from looking for APO. Go alongside your syllabus. If you couldn't understand something, if a teacher could not help, I think another teacher there will be able to help you. Share topics among yourself. Try to learn in group. Treat topics among yourselves and be able to prepare much of the syllabus towards the exam. And one thing is, try to look at the exam past questions. The way they set questions on the various topics reveal to you the kind of question you should be able to ask yourself. What kind of question?
What kind of question? I like that. So let's just think outside the box. Just last thing before we wrap it up.
Yeah.
Don't you think that we need to really upgrade and renew our whole approach to examination and assessment? We are living in the age of information. We're not living in the age of memorization. Yes. And in the age of information, we cheat minute by minute, like I'm cheating now. I'm going on the internet, I'm looking things up, I'm trying to see what people are thinking. We accept this in real life. Why is it that during our examinations, we don't incorporate this new age of technology and information? We don't call it cheating anymore. We call it research and, on-the-minute information.
Yes, my brother, I think Ghana as a developing country, we are yet to reach there. In our view, as guidance and counseling coordinators or officials, the way we are being assessed is different from the counseling point of view. If anybody scores 0, that person is equally important.
Yeah.
You need to know why 0 and try to help the person to become better off and somebody that he needs to be. So I think gradually we have to reach there one day.
So I'm sure you can guess from some of my latter questions that I've got the Malcolm X mentality when it comes to examinations, by any means necessary. But remember, truth and credibility are just as important. So don't compromise your values. Study hard before the day. Make sure that you use whatever you have within the rules and regulations of the examining body, and don't try to cross over into an area of uncertainty or danger. After all, you spent so many years studying, you spent so many years sending your child, your ward, your friend, your sibling through school. Why not help them face the examination psychologically prepared? I hope you've enjoyed my conversation with Frank Adai and Cephas Afanu from the University of Education, Winneba. They come to us from the Department of Psychology and Education because the educational system of Ghana places extreme importance on examinations. Students are expected to sit examinations and do well at the primary, secondary, and tertiary levels. And employers always ask for certificates of examination results from their prospective employees. It's very important. BC, WASI, I wish you all the best.